All right, guys, well, we are back with another episode of Lift. Can't wait to see you in person, but this is how we're meeting right now. Hopefully this time today helps you to be lifted up as we lift up Christ. Well, if you guys have been watching for a little while, you know why we exist. Number one, we exist to make Jesus known. That the world needs to see Jesus because the world is in a broken place and the world is full of brokenness. And now people are seeing that brokenness more so than ever before. And so they need Jesus because only Jesus gives us true life. Only Jesus brings us and restores us into the life outside of brokenness that we can experience with God. We also know that there's probably one person in your life that needs to hear about Jesus. And so we encourage you to pray for that person, and we encourage you to talk to that person about what Jesus did for them on the cross. We believe that God came in the form of a man named Jesus, died on the cross for our sins so that we can have true life in him, and that when we die, that life continues into eternity. All right, well, I thought we would get started with a quick game, but first, let's see an excerpt from the game that we played on Thursday.
Yay!
All right, I'll go.
Emily, you go. Oh.
I said I will go.
Okay.
And then Emily will go. All right, here we go.
I can't see him.
Lion King! The Lion King! I said it first!
Silence of the
Are you guys
Lamb.
guessing? I was getting a prop.
Oh,
Swole Patrol.
Mulan?
heavyweight.
No.
Hercules.
Hercules, yeah.
What? How did you get that?
I don't know, he's like the only buff Disney guy.
No, Oliver.
Moana!
Okay, wait, hang on. No.
Sandlot.
I've been
Finding Nemo.
at the edge of the water, long as I can remember.
Yes.
Little Mermaid.
No, Finding Nemo.
I was Finding Nemo.
Oh,
You ready?
All right, go for it, Laney. Tangled.
No,
Oh yeah, Ariel. Yeah,
There we
Little
go.
Mermaid. The Little Mermaid.
Yeah,
That was
there you go.
good.
Caleb actually got it.
that was good.
Haley just fell.
I did not fall.
Yep. She just fell down.
Who's
Dead?
doing?
Did she die? Riley, help her.
Die.
What was it?
Guessed it?
What?
No?
No.
Fell down. What does that mean?
Can you fall down
No.
again?
No. No, she didn't
Do you
fall.
have anything else?
Slipped. So slip, slippers, Cinderella. No.
Yeah. Make the connection. It's all coming together.
Nice try, Emily.
Okay, what is the movie where
Connected
like
the
the
dots.
characters fall down? Like a
The
lot.
what?
What is the movie?
Alice in Wonderland.
No, where they fall.
She falls down the rabbit hole.
Where they just like drop dead wherever they are. They just drop.
This is a Disney
Oh,
movie?
it's Endgame. Right? No,
No.
Infinity War.
No, it's an animated movie. Pixar. It's Pixar. Yeah, it's Pixar.
And they fall down dead?
No, they don't die. They just fall down. Like wherever they stand, they just fall when they see
Oh,
something.
Toy Story.
Yes.
Like you should have had Riley walk in, like, oh, Andy's here. And you fall down. 5 words.
Words. 5 words?
Stop. I think he's saying stop.
No. Let's see.
Oh, Iron Man.
There you go.
Oh.
He had,
So
to
do
do,
like-
he had to do sound effects.
He was like, "What are you trying to do?"
That was kind of crazy. All right, well, let's play a game together so we can decide who wins a prize for this week. We're doing another trivia game. So here we go. We're going to do 5 questions. So the first person who writes the question in the chat is going to get points awarded by me. So ready your fingers or your thumbs or whatever you're using to type. Here we go. All right, question number 1. How many colors are there in the rainbow? How many colors are there in the rainbow? All right, let's see what the answer is. What did you guys put? A lot of wrong answers. All right, the correct answer is 7. If you remember from grade school, you learned Roy G. Biv, and I think the IV is what throws people off. Indigo and violet, 2 distinct colors for some reason. I don't really fully understand it. Okay, next question. In the cartoon and movie The Jungle Book, it's been adapted many times. What is the name of the bear? Go. What is the name of the bear? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The correct answer is Baloo. Hopefully you spelled it correctly, B-A-L-O-O. If there's a tie, it's going to go to the person who spelled it correctly first. So good job if you're keeping track of scores. Here we go. Now for an international question. In the following, which Italian city is famous for its leaning tower? Massive. And now for an international question. All right, which city in Italy is famous for its leaning tower? And you have to spell it correctly. Leaning tower in Italy. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The correct answer is Pisa. It's not pizza, it's Pisa. P-I-S-A. If you spelled it correctly, you might have won. All right, let's see here. Some good questions, some easy questions. Let's talk about something adorable. Let's talk about pandas. All right, which one food do giant pandas normally eat? A go. Which food do giant pandas normally eat? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The answer is, of course, orange chicken. I'm just kidding. It's not orange chicken. The correct answer is bamboo. Bamboo is like a tough, like vegetable, weird metal wood thing, hybrid. It's really weird. It's really hard. But pandas are so strong that they bite that down. All right, so I believe that was 4 questions. Now let me scroll to find a really a good question. All right. What is the only American state to begin with the letter P? Go. Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Georgia, Hawaii, something, Idaho, Illinois, Indiana, something. I kind of lose it after that one. Anyway, hopefully that's enough time. The correct answer is Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania. Hopefully that wasn't too hard for you. That's kind of like the polar opposite side of America right now, because we are in the Southwest and it is in the Northeast. So hopefully you scored well. Whoever scored the most points out of 5, I'm going to be awarding you some kind of prize in the comments. But really, aren't we all winners? Aren't you a winner? You're a winner because you're listening to this. All right, so before we jump into our announcements, I wanted to highlight a certain ministry. If you know a guy named David Torna, if you've been to Zona Camp before, you know that David Torna is a missionary that we have sponsored before and that we've talked about, and he's spoken at Zona Camps before. So I wanted you to check out something that his company called No Indo is actually doing, where they're stationed as a missionary in Indonesia. So check out this video real quick.
Like many other places right now, our communities here in Indonesia are being impacted by this pandemic. At No Indo, we recently met with the leaders of our village to discuss what the current needs are. Without hesitation, they told us people are in need of face masks, soap, and hand wipes. From this, we came up with a COVID care package. So we are presenting this need to you. Would you consider purchasing a COVID care package on behalf of a local family? It costs $15 to purchase a care package. Each package includes 4 face masks, 2 for adults and 2 for children, hand sewn by our artisan Ibu Komang, 1 bar of antibacterial soap, 1 pack of antibacterial wipes, and a half-day's wage will be given as a financial gift. It's easy to purchase a COVID care package for a local family. go to knowindow.com and click on the COVID Care Package banner. Thank you for partnering with us as we love our local communities.
So that's a pretty awesome opportunity. I bought a pack that's being distributed and might buy some more, but I encourage you to buy a pack to be distributed among their town, because that's a great way that they get to make Jesus known based off of the blessing of the company that they're able to work in. So support them. You can go to KnowIndo, that's KNOW.Indo, INDO, at any social media like on Instagram or Facebook and all that fun stuff. You can probably find them there to support them. So I encourage you to do that today. And also a fun surprise, we actually have an update from a missionary that you guys know really well. Check this out.
Hey guys, just wanted to say hi and give you an update on my life over here in West Africa. Like you guys, we've been social distancing. We can't go out as much as we normally do, but we have still been able to share the good news through social media and continue to build those relationships that we have. So it has just been really good to see just that God is still working in these people's hearts and lives. Just recently, our friend and neighbor has shown an increased interest in hearing and wanting to talk about who Christ is, and so we are just so thankful for all of that. I wanted to encourage you guys today, knowing that you're going to learn about having a global perspective and a God-sized view of the world and just the passage in James. I wanted to give you a little cultural insight. So here, people live for the here and now. They live for today, they work for today, they buy the food that they need for the day. They have a good understanding that at any moment they could die and that they're not promised tomorrow. And though that this understanding is good to have, to know that our life is but a vapor, we know that apart from Christ it is just devastating. Their hope is in their good works. They hope that, at the end, that their good works will outweigh their bad works, that they did enough good things, like they prayed enough, or they gave enough money, or they fasted enough, or that they just did all the things that their religion says that they need to do, so that at the end they'll be able to go to heaven. But we know that apart from Christ, we can't do good things. We can't do good works. That our good works are like filthy rags apart from Christ. And we know that we are saved by grace through faith, and it is not of ourselves, but is a gift of God. So with all of this, I wanted to encourage you guys to share the hope that we have in Christ with your family and friends. God desires that we would play a part. He wants us to be a part of the building of His kingdom, so that one day, when Christ returns and we're all in heaven together, we will see that He has fulfilled His promise in that every tribe, tongue, nation, and language will be there worshiping at the throne, saying, salvation belongs to our God who sits at the throne and to the Lamb. So that's my encouraging message for you guys today. And I just want to say that I miss you and I love you all so much. And I hope that you are using this time that you have to just be a light where you are and to glorify God in everything that you do. Bye guys. Love you all.
All right, I think it's time for a break. Something that I noticed tastes really good that I forgot about were graham crackers. Graham crackers are just so good, and I forgot. Now that I'm on quarantine, I'm just eating a bunch of Reagan snacks. And graham crackers are so good. And it kind of depends on the one that you buy. You kind of need the ones that are honey, because just regular graham cracker kind of tastes like cardboard. And off-brand kind of tastes like cardboard too. But the good stuff, you know when it's good. Did you like that? And we also need to hydro up. And if you haven't already, make sure that you sanitize. This is Purell. been making a habit that anytime I enter a new place, I just put on some hand sanitizer. Anytime I drive anywhere, put on some hand sanitizer. So stay clean, make sure you're washing your hands and saying the ABCs as you're washing your hands so you can get all that stuff off. So let's talk about some announcements. What is the summer going to look like for us? Because May is approaching, it's getting hot outside. It was already 100 degrees this last week. And so what does summer look like for us? Well, in short, we really don't know, but we're gonna keep doing most of what we are doing. Lift, this Sunday night lift will be tonight and then next week, and I'm gonna take a couple weeks off because if you know, my daughter Cameron is gonna be born super soon. And so I'm gonna take a couple weeks off and make sure that I'm being a good dad first. So we won't have Sunday night stuff, but we are going to continue doing weekly stuff. We've been dropping an inspirational video on Tuesdays or an excerpt from the sermon on Tuesdays that you guys can take and share with your friends or just recap yourself. We've been doing Thursday Zoom calls, which, Zoom calls are really fun, and you saw earlier how stupid they can be, but how awesome they kind of are. So I encourage you to jump in on the Zoom calls every single week and invite your friends to the Zoom calls too. We want to meet new people. We want to be able to connect with kids who don't have a community right now, who are in need of just having fun with some people online. And then we're also doing devotions through the book of James. And so today and next week, the sermons that we'll talk about will finish the book of James, but you guys are going to be working through the book of James until you get to the end of chapter 5, and that should be like the first week of May or something like that. So that's coming up really soon. And then after that, we're going to start another devotion where we're reading something together. So if you have a request for something that you want to go through together, let me know. I'm going to look through the Bible and see what's the best thing for us to read together as a youth group. All right, so let's jump into the book of James. The last 3 weeks we've been talking about the book of James. I've been giving you a little highlight of what's happening in the chapter that you're going to read this coming week. And so today we're going to be talking about chapter 4, and we're actually going to jump to the end of chapter 4. So spoilers for chapter 4, but this is a really timely topic because we're talking about not boasting about tomorrow. We don't know what tomorrow brings, and that's basically the world that we live in right now. And so I wanted to take some time to talk about that to make sure that we are all on the same page when it comes to that. But thank you guys for joining us as we look through the book of James and keep on reading. And if you haven't, you can catch up. The book of James is really easy to read. It's basically just straight talk, and James isn't afraid to insult us or cut to the quick and help us to evaluate our lives. And we're going to be doing that today as well. So get out your Bibles, get out your phones. And if you don't have a Bible app on your phone, you need to download it. You need to have a Bible, if it's a physical Bible or a digital Bible, something to help you hear the Word of God and read the Word of God in this time. So let's look at the book of James together. There's a famous poem that says, "It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishment the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul." That is the dumbest thing I have ever read. I mean, let's put this to the test. What did you have planned for April? Do you really feel like you're the master of your fate right now? No. Life probably doesn't look like you think it would at this point of the year. You'd be excited for the golf tournament, getting excited for summer, getting excited for all these fun things, the end of school, but yet life kind of happened a little differently. Life used to be you planned something, and almost 100% of the time, whatever you planned, you would pretty much do. Or was it always that way? James is going to talk about that today, because James is going to say that any type of plan that doesn't have Jesus at the center is not the kind of plan that we want in our lives. It's actually arrogant to plan things without thinking about God's will for our lives. We are not in control of the universe, and we are not at the center of the universe. So stop seeing things from your perspective and try to think globally. Try to think godly. Instead of your small picture, look at the big picture. Let's read James chapter 4, starting in verse 13 together. It says, "Come now, you who say today or tomorrow we will travel to such and such a city and spend a year there and do business and make a profit. Yet you do not know what tomorrow will bring, what your life will be. For you are like a vapor that appears for a little while and then vanishes. Instead, you should say, if the Lord wills, we will live and do this or that." So notice what it's saying in verses 13 and 14. It's saying, tomorrow we will do this. Like that's our planning. We think that we have plans. We thought that we would have the month of April, but we don't. And I don't even remember March. It was so long ago because it feels like 10 years since this has happened. Life changed in a flash, and guess what? It's continuing to change. We can't say for certainty that anything is going to happen. The problem is not that planning in itself is bad, because you should plan. Planning is a really smart thing to do. The problem is when we put ourselves at the center of our planning, James is going to call us out and call us ignorant. Because what's the whole point of the book of James? The whole point is for God to increase your faith. And really, you're not living by faith if you're just putting everything in your own control. So do you hold on to your plans and your dreams so tightly that if they don't happen, you're devastated or you even blame God? This is the kind of thinking that James is warning against. Before all this happened, you'd probably say that your schedule was unchangeable, immovable. Like there's no way that you have time to do certain things because your schedule is just too busy. But then what happened? A world pandemic happened, and all of a sudden we have time for these things. And all of a sudden our schedules can be changed. And all of a sudden we don't have to be at certain places. What changed? Well, really, nothing changed. So you and the people who are ruling your schedule actually have to admit that the things that they are doing actually weren't as important as they thought. I like how James says it in verse 14. He's like, what is your life? And that's a phrase that I've heard you guys say before, like, what is my life? Like that's a really important thing to think about. Think about how God has designed us to live. Like we can only live in the present. Like we've been designed to experience the present and remember the past, but we have no clue what the future is ahead of us. Like right now, as I'm recording this, like these lights that are on me could go out. Like I have no control of that. The only thing that I can control is what's coming out of my mouth right now. And as we learned last week, a lot of the times I don't even have control of that. James gives us an analogy here. He compares us to a vapor. It's like a mist. If you have misters in your house or you see like water coming up like a mist, like you know just how brief that actually is. You see it for a little while and then it's gone. Well, that is your life. Your time here on earth in the grand scheme of human history is so small. I mean, think about just the last 100 years or so. Do you know the names of your great-grandpa or your great-grandma? Do you know their life? Do you know anything about them? Do you know their parents? Probably not. Guess what? Your kids will know you. Your grandkids will probably know you. But guess what? Your great-grandkids, they probably won't even remember who you are. You're like 2 generations away from just being completely forgotten. And that's why James is so hard to read sometimes, because it kind of hurts to read that we're not as important as we think we are. I mean, think about world history. Think about history classes that you've been in. You've probably learned about the same people over and over again. But think about the billions and trillions and zillions of people that have ever lived. And yet, every year in history class, you probably learn about maybe 50 people. 50 out of zillions. So a very small percent of people who have lived are actually remembered for what they do. God designed your life to be forgotten. So this is why we need to change our perspective, our focus from me-centered to God-centered, because that is what lasts. That is what is important. None of us are guaranteed tomorrow. None of us. But yet we choose to live that way. But it is so narrow-sighted. We're arrogant if we feel like we deserve tomorrow, because there's nothing that we deserve. We are just a small vapor that God chose this specific time for us to live. But yet, there is hope. God chose you in this time to live through this time for a reason. There are people who were born like after the Spanish flu 100 years ago who have died before COVID-19. God didn't choose them to live in those times, but he chose you to be able to experience this for some reason. I think all of this just reminds us that we are not in control. And we see that in verse 15. He talks about, if the Lord wills, we will do this and that. This is something that we need to think about, God's will. Now, we throw that word around a lot, will, but what is God's will? Well, God's will is what God desires, and it's also what God wills to pass, like what God brings to happen. We believe that God is in control of everything and that he knows the past, he knows the future, because he's there. He's outside of time. He sees everything. So what this means is that you need to live your life by God's timing. Your attitude needs to change. You can't just sit back and relax and let God's will come to pass. You actually have to participate in it. This is the awesome thing, is that your life, even though it's short and we can be forgotten, that doesn't mean that it's meaningless. Like, we have been given a purpose, and that purpose has been to make God known and know God, like know the creator of the universe, know the one who created everything and is outside of time. We get to have a relationship with him. So we are not in control of the universe, and we are not at the center of the universe either. The good news of the gospel of Jesus Christ is that we actually deserve hell. Like, we don't deserve tomorrow. The only thing we deserve is hell for punishment for our sins. We live in a world of brokenness. God didn't have to save us out of this brokenness, but yet he chose to save us by sending Jesus to die on the cross for us. We don't deserve that, but yet God graciously, because of his love, allows us to know what he did for us and to know him in this life and in the next life. So with all of that being said, you need to look from God's perspective on your life. The little things that you're worrying about right now, are they really that big of a deal? The things that you think are important, are they really? What's important is what Jesus wants for your life. And I think that just gives us a different perspective of how to live. Like, every day is a gift. If we don't deserve it, that means that every day God is blessing us by allowing us another day. Like, God is giving you another day today. You didn't earn it. There's nothing that you did to earn today, but yet God gave it to you as a gift. So how should we use it? Live like your life is short. Live your life dependent on God. Live your life for others. This is a radically different way to live than what the world tells you is important. It's all about me, me, me. And right now, in this world that we live in, it's very evident that it's not about us, and that we need to live for others, and we need to live for God. Jesus himself said the greatest commandment is to love God and to love your neighbor as yourself. Like, he put those two things together. So when we love God and we love others, we're living in the purpose that he's given us. It's not me-centered, it's other-centered. This is a radical way to live. I mean, think about school. This year is essentially over. Like, you're probably not going to see a majority of your friends from high school until school comes back. But everything probably happened way faster than it normally does. Like, spring semester always goes by way fast, but this one just kind of ended at spring break. Like, it's crazy. For some of you, high school is just going by way quicker than you thought. Or maybe for some, it's not going by fast enough. But here's the thing. You are not the master of your destiny. You're not the captain of your soul. Your life is not the unchanging center of the universe. You are a vapor. You are a mist. And you definitely aren't in control of the wind's direction. You aren't in control of what happens to you. And you're not in control of when you're going to die. God is in total control of everything. So everything that we have is a gift from God. So live your life knowing that God has your future in his hands. Live your life remembering what God did for you in the past and what he will do for you in the future. So the next time that you say that you're too busy or your schedule can't fit it in, really realize what you're saying. What you're saying is that those things aren't as important as me, as my schedule. Make time for God, make time for others. We need to look with a God perspective and not a me-centered perspective, because his ways are better than our ways. And we need to look from a global perspective too. Don't just think about your city, your town, your state, or even the country that we live in. Think globally. Like, this pandemic is happening all around the world. This is the first time in a century where we are all, as people of this earth, united around one thing, that we are all struggling with this. We are all struggling with this virus. We were all feeling the brokenness of the world that we live in. So use this as an opportunity to talk to your friends about this. They know what you're going through because you're going through the same thing that they are. Use this time to make new routines, to make Jesus the center of your life. Like, God is essentially allowing you to rewrite your schedule, to rewrite your routines. So take this time to really, truly put Jesus at the center. Well, a way that you can do that this week is the No Indo project, like I talked about before. It's a great way that we can support a missionary who's given so much to us and help him to make Jesus known where he is in Indonesia. So remember to go to no.indo at Instagram or on Facebook, and wherever you want to go, and you can look online and try to buy those care packages for the people that live in his town. And think some creative ways that you can help the people in your town, some creative ways that you can help your friends. Like, there's so many things that we can use during this time to be able to reach out and show people the love and hope that is only found in Jesus. So I want to thank you guys for logging on. I'll see you guys next week. Look for Tuesday. I'm going to drop this sermon as a smaller video apart from this big video. And I challenge you to take that small video and share it with somebody. Share it with a friend. Share it with a sibling. Share it with a family member, a cousin, or something that you know needs some hope during this time. All right, so I'm not going to try to end this a bunch of different ways like I did last week. If you did like that last week, you can go and check that out again. For now, I'm just going to say, if God wills, I'll see you again.
They have prayed enough. They hope that they give enough. Oh, shoot. And that, and I cannot do that. We know that, shoot, so close.